Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bristol Motor Speedway for this weekend's Food City 500. And, of course, Ford Fan Friday. We have Trevor Bayne, and this is Trevor, your home track. Of course, being a Knoxville, Tennessee native, how excited are you to be here at Bristol this weekend?
I'm excited. I've got my big puffy jacket on right now, though, because it's really cold here this weekend. I wasn't expecting that. My motorhome driver told me there were flurries earlier, so I don't know what to expect. Hopefully we're not making snow angels after the race like Kurt Busch a few years ago, but I am excited to be back. I got to go to Food City race night last night and hang out with a lot of fans and spend some time with them, and we're doing that again tonight, so it's good for that aspect, and I also love the racing here. I mean, Bristol is one of my favorite tracks that I go to every year. We're fast here, and I have the most experience here than I do at any other track, just from Hooters Pro Cup days and stuff like that, where I used to come here and make laps.
Okay, open up to any questions. Okay, right down front here, Jess.
Trevor, now you've had 3 weeks in a row where you've been in the car. How is that, finally getting a rhythm that you weren't able to have last year?
Man, I can tell a difference already, and it's only been 3 weeks. Just the comfort level that you get after being in the car and being able to feel it and know what you need by race time. Even on the Cup races, I feel like it's helping me out. At Vegas last weekend, unfortunately, we weren't able to qualify in the Cup car, and it kind of put us behind at the beginning. But I felt like our car at the beginning of the race was closer than it's been in a while. Part of that because, you know, they're working on things to make it better, and it's a new car. And part of that because I kind of know what I'm feeling a lot more when I'm in the car every weekend, and I can help them to understand what it needs. And I think on the Nationwide side, man, those cars have been so fast week in and week out, and that just builds your confidence in yourself and in the team and in the whole program. Last weekend we got into the wall with a 32, and we were able to drive back from 28th to 4th and you know, have a solid finish. You points race differently when you're racing every weekend. It's way different than trying to go out and win every race so that you can get a sponsor and maybe continue to race or not. So I'm really comfortable in this situation that I've got, and I feel like it's helping me in every aspect, from confidence to the competition side to the comfort level, just everything involved in it.
Okay. Anyone else? Over here, Rick Minner. Trevor? Rick over here.
Rick Minnow racing today. Trevor, how much does it help you in the learning process to run against guys with lots of experience racing for the championship this year? You know, people that have Cup experience now running for a nationwide championship. Well,
it definitely pushes the competition to the next level. When you look at that, I mean, there's guys like Sam Hornish, who's leading the points now, that have won Indy 500s and run for Indy championships, and guys like Brian Vickers, who have run in the Cup Series for multiple years, and Elliott Sadler, and you know, Brian's won a championship. You've got new guys like Austin Dillon and you know, Allgaier, and there's so many names in the Nationwide Series this year. And going into it, everybody talked about how it's going to be one of the most competitive years that we've ever had, and it goes back to 2009 when I came into the series, and Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski, and you know, the Gibbs cars were running strong, and it's back to that level of competition, I feel like. So it makes us up our game, and you know that every week you've got to be consistently in the top 5. You've got to bust out a few of those wins, and you can't have the bad races. Daytona obviously put us behind at the very beginning with a part failure, and we've tried to bounce back from that, and I think we're meeting our goal every weekend. But even at that, with 2 fourth-place finishes, we still know that we need to step up our game and get to victory lane soon and click off those top 3s to be in this championship run by the end of the season, because there is a lot of tough competition, which just helps us all.
Okay, we've got Mark Garrow over here.
Mark Garrow, PRN. It's sort of following up on that particular question. We're 3 races in, still very early, but do you start to get it? Are you getting a sense now of exactly how this thing is going to start to play out, and who are going to be the main challengers here for the title?
Yeah, I mean, I think going into it before we ever got to the racetrack, we kind of knew who was going to be the contenders, and you know, we're seeing that play out exactly as everybody talked about. You know, the top 7, 8 guys are what everybody predicted. I think the order is a little bit different than people thought it would be at this point, but it's still 3 races in. People didn't have, you know, they've had a bad race or 2 now at this point, and there are guys that haven't had their bad races yet, which will cycle out eventually. I mean, normally it does. I've never seen a perfect season for anybody. It could happen this year, but you know, I think at this point we see that the level of competition is what everybody expected it to be, and that it is going to be tough, and that, you know, there's guys that were a little underestimated, like Hornish, who have won races now and run up front every weekend, you know, and then you have your guys like Brian Vickers and Elliott Sadler and those guys that everybody expected to be up front. So week in and week out, the competition's going to be up, and I think we've got to focus on that championship now. You want to do it this early in the game. I've never done that before. It's a different mindset for me because I'm used to going out and making the most out of the first 5 races and hoping that we get sponsorship and then moving forward. But at this point, we know we're going to be around at the end of the season, so we need to start thinking about that points battle and being smart with every position and making sure we don't jeopardize ourselves. When you're running 4th and there's no reason to try to get a 3rd place. Well, we want to finish as high as we can, but if you think it's going to wreck you and you're going to finish 20th, it's not worth that one more spot this early in the game.
You talked about maybe underestimating Hornish. I mean, do you think he was under the radar in that the race at Vegas last week sort of announced to you guys, if you haven't taken me seriously yet, you better now?
Yeah, and I mean, you can see that the guy's hungry, and he's driving Fords this year, which are really fast nationwide cars with the Mustangs. And, I think that on the list of championship contenders, he probably was in the top 5 or 6, but I don't know that he would have been the top on everybody's list. And like I said, we've got a long season to play out ahead of us. Who knows what will happen, but winning a race is very important early in the season, and they've done that. And, he's a great guy and a strong competitor, and he'll be a guy hopefully we're battling at the end for this thing.
Okay, we'll go over to Mike Embry.
Mike Embry, Speed.com. Trevor, on the Sprint Cup side, there's obviously a lot of talk about teams adjusting to the new car and changes and so forth. But what about on the driver's side with that car? And are you at any kind of a handicap, you think, adjusting to the car with obviously not a full schedule?
Well, I think by the end of the year, that handicap will be bigger and bigger as they go on and they go to more tracks and they learn more about the car. Fortunately, we have the engineering support and the data support from Roush Fenway. I get the driver data from the EFI packages, which shows me a lot. Without that, I might be at a bigger disadvantage. But, anytime you're not in the car, it's a disadvantage. But I think that we can work through it. And I think that gap is closer this year than it's been for us in the past, because they don't have the experience with the new car. Everybody started out fresh this year, and they might have a 2-race advantage over us going into Texas versus a 60-race advantage over 2 years or over 4 years. So I think that gap is a lot closer, and we'll be able to be stronger early in this season. But as the year goes on, we'll have to pay attention and keep up with it, because it'll be a very quick pace changing car with new things. People figure it out as they go, and with something new, there's more to figure out.
Okay. Back to Jeff. One more question with Jeff.
Jeff Birchfield, John City Press. Trevor, you talked about all the laps you have here at Bristol. Do you have a little bit of a danger here of maybe putting too much pressure on yourself this weekend?
No, I don't think so. I think because we've been faster and I've got more laps, it just makes me more comfortable. It seems like teams do better in front of the home crowd for some reason, even though the noise is the same when they're pulling for you, it helps. And so coming home to Bristol, it makes it really sweet for me to be here and to have a chance to run with a top team for a win. And last year we qualified on the pole. We were fastest in practice. The race before that we qualified second and ran up front all day. But now I've got to figure out how to win this thing, how to be up front at the end of the day when it matters. And I think a little bit of that is making sure that we're not too fast in practice. Sometimes you can work on the car too much and get it too free, and I think that's what I've done the past two races here. So if I'm not at the top of the board today, I'm not going to go crazy and start freeing the thing up and hoping that we'll be better at the end of the race here. So we're just going to work on that, and hopefully we can get a win for Ford. This being a Ford weekend with EcoBoost on our car, it's going to be cool. So there is a little bit that comes with that, a little bit of pressure, but it's nothing we can't handle.
Okay, over here to Zach Albert.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. Early on, but maybe too early to assess, but what has Travis shown you so far as a teammate, and what's he brought to the team so far?
Man, Travis has got a ton of drive. That guy, anything he wants to do, he wants to be the best at it. He didn't come to NASCAR just to say he did it. He didn't come here just to make laps and get experience, but he wants to be good at it. And to be good at something, you have to be a listener and you have to be able to put it into action. And that's two things he's shown me so far this year that he is. He asks the right questions and he puts it into action when you give him advice. And so, that's something that you want in a teammate. Last week at Vegas, we got by him after I'd been in the crash, and we were driving through the field, and he filed in right behind me and picked up everything that I was doing. And in our meeting on Monday, he talked about that. He saw what I was doing in the car, and he instantly picked it up and put it to work. So that's what you want to see, and I think he's going to have a lot of improvement. And he's shown speed, qualifying in the top 10 and running in the top 10 week in and week out. I think he's going to be around the sport for a long time, hopefully.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Trevor, good luck this weekend. Thanks for coming by this
Thank you,
morning.
guys.